Hi, this is Lee with a video podcast, and I wanted to describe the role of a capital lawyer around the California state capitol. At McGeorge School of Law, where I'm an adjunct professor, they're training up and coming lawyers to practice as a capital lawyer, describing them as those who attain some fundamental knowledge and skills that are essential to lawyering in and around California government, primarily at the state, but also at the local or federal levels. Now, of course, these individuals could practice law at other levels of government, but the focus and the concentration is called the capital lawyering program, with an emphasis on the California Capitol and the executive, legislative, or judicial branches of government. So some of the fundamental skills that they're trying to give these soon to be capital lawyers include public policy research, development and analytical skills, an appreciation for the various policy-making venues so that a determination can be made as to which one or ones to choose for achieving client success, researching laws and, of course, public policy issues at the local, state, and federal government levels, teaching them about education and advocacy, as well as negotiating skills in these different policy-making venues, and hopefully imparting with them enough knowledge on a number of areas of law and public policy that are particularly unique to different levels of government and the public sector generally. I think it's also particularly important for these individuals studying at McGeorge to understand the policy-making venues and processes of all three levels of government, because really none of them in the end operate in a vacuum. For example, federal laws and programs and even funding can be implemented at both the state and local government levels, and obviously have a huge impact financially and otherwise on state and local communities around the state of California. As well, state and local governments don't have exclusive control over the entire policy-making agenda in the state. They share it themselves and they share it with the federal government. And even within a level of government, there are different branches with different venues for the capital lawyering skills to be utilized by these attorneys. The most obvious example are lawmaking, the creation of statutes in the legislative branch, and rulemaking in the executive branch and their regulatory agencies and departments. So really a well-prepared capital lawyer is going to be able to work within these different and unique policy-making venues. And so there are numerous opportunities for engagement and ultimate employment for capital lawyering students to have successful capital lawyering careers, such as in the California legislature. They could be committee consultants, staff to legislators or individual leaders, in the support agencies such as legislative counsel, the legislative analyst, the state auditor's office, for the governor's office directly, such as in legal affairs, legislative affairs, the appointments unit, certainly in the more than 200 state agencies that, particularly those that have rulemaking authority, whether being attorneys or advocates in charge of legislative affairs, maybe being administrative law judges, even enforcement officers. And then turning to the private sector, of course, to work for individual businesses or associations that seek to influence policy in both the legislative and regulatory arenas, for private law firms that specialize in political, election law, government law, and lobbying, and then naturally in lobbying firms, and where they can engage in advocacy at the legislative and regulatory areas. You know, capital lawyering, someone practicing in that area really is heavily involved in the development of public policy. And whether One participates as for example, an elected or an appointed official, or a staff attorney for a government agency, even a legislative aide or a committee consultant or a lobbyist, or even an attorney at a law firm that might specialize in government relations. All of these different positions are involved in developing and implementing public policy. So many often find it a rewarding career to be a capital lawyering or to be a capital lawyer. And so hope you'll consider joining the ranks of capital lawyers at the state capitol.